Hey everybody, this is Eric Mertz and coming at you from a beautiful, beautiful spring day here in Oregon City, Oregon. It's warm, the sun is out. I don't know if winter's gone for good, but it's certainly starting to look like it might be in the rearview mirror. So I hope the weather's gorgeous where you are and you're either in spring already or you're getting there. It's really that time of the year, right? I wanted to talk a little bit about my new paranormal mystery series, Season in the Bush. In my last newsletter, I released a series description and the cover to Dead Still, which is the prequel novella in that series. And I'm hoping that after my ARC team gets to look at that book, and it's a short read, so it shouldn't take long. That book will be out maybe early April, mid-April. It'll be out on Amazon. And it's going to be a fun series. I'm really looking forward to this series. It covers a lot of my favorite topics, including kind of rural America, baseball, paranormal mystery. It's got kind of a lot of the elements that I really, really like. And so I guess I wanted to talk just briefly about my inspiration for the series in general. I think that inspiration is an interesting thing to track when you're looking at not just writing a book, but you're developing a story and then developing that story into something longer, much longer, like a series. My inspiration for this comes from a few places. As you know, as a reader of The Strange Air, I love rural America. I love, big city America is fascinating. I mean, I live near Portland, Oregon, so that's a decent sized city, but I really like the feel of a small town. I now live in Oregon City, which is a much smaller town. It's a lot more, people, you recognize faces around here. People tend to congregate. They come out for things like tree lightings, and they come out for things like trick-or-treating on Main Street. So I like that feeling of a small town's intimacy, the connection you have to your neighbors when you live in a smaller place. Certainly not everything I write is going to be a small town story, but this series again finds us in a small town. So that's one of my inspirations. Another inspiration for me is I love baseball. I'm a big baseball fan. I have been since I was a kid. Baseball is just something that, for me, once the baseball season starts, it's just kind of a different rhythm for me. Like I follow baseball very closely. I watch it regularly, and there's just always this kind of it just creates a new rhythm in my world. And I always look forward to it. Like right now, being a couple of weeks from baseball season, I'm just really excited for what's to come. So why haven't I written a baseball series yet? And the answer to that is I don't know. Why I have never written anything involving baseball. I've written some articles about baseball. I've written some essays about baseball, but I've never tried to incorporate my love of baseball and my love of paranormal mystery and small town and that kind of thing. I've never attempted it. And part of it might have been this feeling that I needed to keep those passions in my life separate. I think some writers have that feeling where it's like, well, there's the baseball side of me, or there's whatever that thing is for you as a writer. I think some people have that feeling that you have to keep those things separate. That may have been it for me. I'm not conscious of that, but it may have been some need that I had to keep it separate. But what really kind of got me going here was, and so I work as a ghostwriter, and I had a client who were working on a sports book, and one of the assignments for this book was interviewing a baseball scout. And I interviewed a baseball scout in December, and our formal interview for the book probably took 45 minutes, but we ended up talking for 2 hours. And he was a fascinating guy. He was very, immersed in the history of baseball. Very, just a guy who worked in baseball and who studied the sport and who lived the sport. And he told stories and anecdotes and kind of behind the scenes stuff. And my head got dizzy with oh wow, this is great. This is such a great, it was such a fun conversation to have. But what really got me excited was he recommended this book called $sign on the Muscle. Now, it's not recommended for anybody unless you really like baseball. It's not a general interest read. It's very specifically about baseball scouting. And as I listened to this book, I listened to it on Audible, and what I found fascinating was just baseball scouts are like this combination of like like vaudeville performers and traveling salespeople and hucksters and preachers. Like the stories in this book about old style scouts just really got me in the mind of like, how can I use these characters from this book? How can I use these characters from the stories, the scenes, the sort of like old folk wisdom that used to get connected to it. And for those of you don't know, like sports now are very analytical. It's very statistic. There's a lot of statistics. There's a lot of, a lot of analytics that go into things. Like everything's a science. Everything is very precise. There's not a lot of magic. But back in the day, back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, there was a lot of this, like, just a lot of, again, it was a very showman. It was a lot of like hucksters and salesmen, and I was just intoxicated with these characters that in the book that talked about these scouts. And so as I was listening to this book, and I would listen to it with my dog, I'd take my dog for a walk, and I'd listen to the book, and so it was winter, and I'm like pining for baseball, and I'm listening to this very like romantic, very like interesting look at baseball. I just got really, I had to find an outlet for that. Baseball wasn't coming for 3 months. I wasn't able to, like, there was no other outlet. And so I started creating this character, and that's how we get to Cyrus Grieve, who is the baseball scout in the series. I hope you'll enjoy Season in the Bush. He's a baseball scout from the 60s who time travels back to the 40s and is stuck in Lagoon County, Indiana, not only trying to fulfill his role as a baseball scout, because mysteriously, as he shows up in 23 years in the past, he's somehow expected there. So there's a bit of quantum leap there, where he's there for a reason, and he knows, he senses that. So he's there like scouting baseball in the 40s, but he's also unraveling a paranormal mystery. And so this series, I really hope, you don't have to be a baseball fan to like it. And I'm really hoping that people can read this, and like it involves baseball, but it also is really more about, if you talk about just character and situation, it's more about this middle America. It's more about, the 40s. It's more about paranormal mystery. And there's a really great relationship. There's really great relationships, I should say, that Cyrus Grieve forms throughout the series. And, I really feel like baseball is also a lens to look at cultural things. So there's a little bit of like American cultural history that gets wrapped up in the baseball aspects of things. But I hope you really like it. That's really my inspiration for the series. I was reading my love of baseball and just the perfect timing of kind of getting this book, and it really helped me unlock a character. And the guy who I interviewed, Carl Mosch, scout for the Boston Red Sox, just like opened this door to a piece of history that's gone. And I really want to write a story that uses this little glimpse of history that we would otherwise lose sight of. So anyhow, that's my inspiration for the series. I hope you really enjoy it. And again, enjoy spring, folks, and look for Dead Still on Amazon, and books in the series are going to come out pretty quick. So take care, readers. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.